Standing by, the Terry and Ted podcast is sponsored by the UPS Store Canada.
Welcome to another episode of the Standing By podcast. I'm Terry DiMonte. That's Ted Bird. Hello, Ted.
Hey, Ferdinand Magellan. Back from circumnavigating the globe again, I see.
You know what I was thinking on the way home? I thought to myself,
the way home from where?
On the way
England?
home,
the Dominican Republic?
On the way from the DR. If you're retired, do you call it holidays?
Sure.
Yeah?
Well, it's a vacation. I think anything away from home is a vacation or a holiday.
Yeah, 2 weeks of sunshine and 29 degrees every day. That's a holiday. You're right about that.
Because I'm retired and I haven't gone anywhere. And if I did, I would certainly feel like it was a holiday.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you have just as much color as I do. Have you been
high blood pressure?
Okay. I was going to say.
I don't know what that is. People keep remarking on that.
Yeah.
I think I used to think it was because I keep myself in good.
Well, that's part of it.
I keep myself in fine fettle, but I've been sick with a respiratory virus for about 2.5 weeks now.
Is it contagious?
At this point, probably not.
Okay, good. Glad to hear it.
But I've had people tell me that they've battled the same thing for 3 weeks, a month. It's whatever's going around.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised because I had my 17th booster.
Yep.
Yeah, and yet
but isn't
here
this
we are.
RBC or GWB? What is it?
I think it's RSV.
Right, RSV.
I think it's a respiratory something.
Sensory visionary affair.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm getting better day by day, bit by bit. Yeah.
Great to hear it.
Incrementally.
Right.
Yeah.
So I won't bore you with pictures or
I want stories.
Or go
I
on
have
with
questions.
Stories. Okay, well, we'll get to that. Why don't we start by saying thanks to the folks at UPS. UPS Stores Canada, across the land, over 400 of them now. They are our title sponsor, we call them, David Drucker and all the good people across the land at UPS Stores support the podcast, and we couldn't be happier. We got a note from a regular listener to the podcast who said, we do go on and on about our sponsors. And
we're grateful to our sponsors.
We certainly are guilty of it, but a lot of people don't understand. In order to do this, you can't do it for a long time with no money. I mean, you can if you're in your basement and you're just doing it that way, but there's a little bit more involved. I mean, we don't have a huge staff. Our producer, Matthew, is here. We're in a studio that's provided to us. Anyway, we're just very grateful to our sponsors.
Also, our sponsors, all of our sponsors are also, I would consider them our friends.
That's true.
In some instances, friends for decades.
Including David Drucker.
Yeah, and we believe strongly in the products and services that they have to offer. We're not just jerking them off.
Yeah.
Terry and Ted, they don't just jerk you off.
Sure, the sponsors,
how do you like that, David?
Sponsors are thrilled with that. Have you heard your new slogan? Anyway, the UPS stores across the country can help you if you run a small business from home, or if you just need to ship something, or if you just need to buy a box. Ever find yourself stuck for packing something to send across town or across the country, and you need a box and bubble wrap and tape? Because I don't know anybody who has a drawer full of bubble wrap. The UPS store can help you with that. There are over 400 locations literally all across the land, in all the places that I've lived, including Langley and Calgary and Winnipeg and Montreal, and now up north. There's an UPS store near you.
You could do a random search of any city or town in the country, and there's probably a UPS store there. I did a random search of St. Hyacinth.
There you go.
St. Hyacinth.
St. Hyacinth.
Has a UPS store, probably not far from Bar Le Zipper.
Okay. I'm unfamiliar with that bar. Did you make that up? Or
No, I actually Googled St. Hyacinth strip bars the other day because my friend Darren Paul from Ganawage, I was ranting and raving on social media saying, stop booing the national anthem. And he said, I'm going to boo you all day long. I'm going to follow you around all day and boo you from breakfast until last call at whatever strip joint you wrap up the night at. And I said, well, I'll see you at last call at Bar Le Zipper in St. Hyacinth.
So you were doing research for the comeback.
I was,
okay,
yes.
there you go.
Yeah.
So, David, it's been really great having you as a sponsor. Because this isn't our best ad for the UPS stores.
I thought it was terrific.
I thought so too, and I'm sure Dave.
Yeah.
That's one of the things we've told you before about David. He's a longtime friend, got a great sense of humor, and I'm sure he'll appreciate it. But in all seriousness, whether you run a small business or whether you need help getting a package across the country, the UPS Store Canada will make your life easier.
It's also one of the great things about podcasting versus broadcasting.
Yes.
We can make jokes that we couldn't make on the radio.
Right.
We can address issues that we couldn't address on the radio. I would like to address something right now that a number of people have inquired about. Why is Ted's microphone pink? Is it because he's gay?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
No, it's not.
Honest to God.
Yeah. First of all, it's not pink. It's fighting salmon.
Okay.
And secondly, a pink microphone doesn't make me gay.
Yeah.
It's my love of sodomy and fellatio.
There you go.
That makes me gay.
There you go.
I've chosen now as the time to come out, Tara. This is it. Yeah, after 2 failed marriages and 4 children, I think that it's time for me to come clean.
Very proud of you.
Yeah, I live at home alone with a cat and a dubious Pornhub search history, and I'm embracing it at this point.
Very good. Suddenly I'm uncomfortable again. Suddenly I don't know where to turn.
Did I mention I started drinking again?
I go away for 2 weeks and it all comes right off the rails. I was telling our friends Blair and Karen on the weekend that I look forward to this. She was asking me about retirement. Our buddy Blair, a longtime friend of ours from the broadcast industry, he's just retired and stepped away from the business. And we were talking about, doesn't matter what job you are, it takes a bit of an adjustment, I think anyway, to get into a new routine. And I said, I'm very happy for the podcast because I like being in front of a microphone, having fun and telling stories, which is what I did for a living my whole life.
Yep, and it is fun. And they say that, do something you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
And we were fortunate to be able to do that and to continue to be able to do that.
I don't want to go on and on about a beach holiday when I know a lot of people can't afford to do that.
I don't think anyone's going to take it that way.
I hope not. I just wanted to apologize to the Dominican Republic because every time it came up, I said, I hear nothing but bad things. I'm never going there. And what transpired was my father-in-law rented a condo down there for 3 months and said to us, come and enjoy for as little or as long as you like. And my wife said, let's go. And we went for 2 weeks. And the country is beautiful. The people are wonderful and warm. It's safe. You cannot drink or swallow the water, but it's a beautiful, beautiful place with great beaches, lovely people, great food, and a climate that just never misses. We were there for 2 weeks, and we had sunshine every day, and it's one of those climates where you get a few droplets of rain, and you think, oh, it's raining, and then 3 minutes later, the sun is out. I had an amazing time. Love the Dominican Republic. Would go back in a heartbeat.
You were dubious about the Dominican Republic of 30 years ago.
I was, exactly.
When it first became a popular tourist destination because it was a less expensive alternative, but you were taking your chances.
Yeah.
You might get a good resort, but you might get a real shithole. You never knew. And I think a lot has changed over 30 years. I think their tourism industry, from the impression I get is that it's improved dramatically to the point where you're not rolling the dice anymore. You get what you pay for, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's a solid tourist destination for people in the wintertime from this part of the world.
And very, very popular with Quebecers. I think we flew down with Air Transat. We had a lovely trip with them with a lovely crew, and they fly out of Montreal, I think, twice and sometimes 4 times a day, back and forth, bringing Quebecers to and from the Dominican and back to Montreal. So that just gives you an idea of how popular it is. And a lot of the people that we ran into at restaurants and places had a little bit of knowledge of French because there's so many Quebecers down there. Highly recommend it. I can't say enough things about it.
Did you see many kids playing baseball? Because the Dominican Republic, I don't know the numbers, but on a percentage level, or proportionately speaking, I think the Dominican Republic has probably produced more baseball Hall of Famers per capita than any country outside of the United States. The Dominican Republic is renowned for the baseball talent it produces. And I think some of these, you tell me because I've never been there, but I've always thought to myself, some of these kids probably start out with a stick and a can.
Yeah, pretty much. We didn't see any sandlots or baseball fields per se because where we were, I was going to say before, we saw lots of, we were in an area called Bavaro where it's all tourism, lots and lots of beautiful resorts, lots and lots of VRBOs and condos. So we didn't see any lots per se, but you see the examples of their pride about some of the players that have come from there.
Yeah.
And almost, I would say, probably 80% of the men in the area that we were in were wearing a baseball jersey and a baseball cap.
Really?
Yeah. You can really, really feel it.
Yeah, the Dominican Republic and Cuba.
Yes.
Both renowned for producing Major League Baseball players.
Yeah. Anyway, I just, if, you haven't been or, or your friends have told you about it, that's the impression I was left with. I would go back in a heartbeat. Jess and I said we'd love to go back. And I'd like to say hi to Rishi from Elephant Stone. They're a local band, and Rishi stopped me in the airport. The last time I saw him, we were in bed together in the John Lennon suite at the Queen Elizabeth Hotel.
Now I'm uncomfortable.
We did a broadcast from the Lennon suite when I was still working. And
was it the anniversary of the Bed In for Peace?
Yeah, I think so. And as you know, at the Queen Elizabeth Hotel, you can still rent that suite.
Yeah.
And Rishi and the guys came in that morning and played for us. And I got a nice picture at home in the bed up against the window, that famous picture of John and Yoko. And it's me and Rishi and the guys all joking around. Anyway, I saw him and I hadn't seen him since, so I wanted to say hi to him. And I also wanted to mention that if you travel and want to leave your car at the airport for a while and you haven't tried P4 yet, it's really good. It's the new parking lot on the far end, closer to the Marriott Hotel and closer to Cardinal than it is the actual airport. But they have a shuttle, and it's brand new, and it's cheaper than parking close to the door, and I highly recommend it.
I picked up my daughter from the airport shortly before Christmas, and I think 2 hours cost me $43.
Yeah.
So I hope it's better than that.
It is better than that. It's not.
Well, I was in the short-term parking right at the terminal.
It's cheaper, and for us, because we live up in the Laurentians, we don't want to burden people by saying, "Hey, can you give us a ride to the airport and bring us?" So we park the car, and if you're wondering about P4, I would recommend it. I thought it was terrific.
So 2 weeks you left your car there?
Yep.
How much?
$340.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's not terrible.
That's not really bad. And if we were to hire a car service, to come and get us and bring us back
from up north,
it would
at least that.
Yeah, it would be way more than that. And same with a cab or a limousine or whatever it is you do. Anyway, I just thought I would mention it because it's new, and I know a lot of people like me look at it and think, "Oh, I wonder if it's any good there." And I just also wanted to quickly mention, while we were waiting for our flight, I said to Jess, "Let's go over there. I haven't been to Javayou in a long time. Famous Montreal place. They've got a place in the airport in the international departure area." And wow, it was so awful. Like I forget what Jess had. I had like a muffin that was, I don't know, probably 4 days old maybe. And I went right to the garbage can and threw it out. And Javi,
did you say anything?
No, because the cashier.
There's nothing they can do about it. But there's got to be a manager there, no?
Well, and they don't care. And I thought, you know what? If you're not paying attention to the quality that you're putting out, I guess you don't care.
Well, listen, when I go to the airport, when it comes to stuff like that, I don't expect quality. I know I'm going to overpay for garbage.
I didn't either, but I've always thought highly of Javayou. And
So disappointed.
it's a coffee and a muffin. I didn't, I didn't have an elaborate lunch or anything.
No, but a coffee and a muffin at Java U at the airport's probably $17.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was, but it was disappointing, and I wondered about why you wouldn't be more careful with that. Java U is a great brand name, and it conjures up for me nice memories of nice meals and events that we've been to that they catered and stuff. And
It's because they're not as conscious of the brand anymore because they've got MBAs and
I guess maybe I don't know who owns it
CAs
anymore.
doing the looking at the bottom line.
Yeah,
that's all they don't care about the brand and about the quality. They care about the bottom line and the share price.
I don't mean to bash them. They're a beloved Montreal trademark. But
is that a Montreal?
Yes,
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Born and raised right here in Montreal.
Yeah. And how far do they extend? Are they nationwide? Are they international?
I'm pretty sure it's just a Quebec thing, just a Montreal thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, if like I said, I don't mean to bash them. Maybe they had an off day, but if you know anybody that works at Java U, tell them they
don't smarten up.
Yeah, smarten up. What else would you like to talk about, Ted? I've got all kinds of things here in my notebook.
You keep going.
Well, I'll keep going.
Because I've just drawn a blank.
Okay. I want to say thank you to Louis-Philippe and Sylvain and Louise. I was in my driveway when we first moved up north on our street. Louise walks her dog every day, and she waved and was kind and smiled and welcomed us to the neighborhood. She was the first person to do it. And
like in BC.
Oh yeah, yeah, just like our neighbors in BC. And she was just lovely, and we hadn't seen each other for a while. And I was in the driveway the other day, and she waved, and she came up the driveway with the dog, and we started to have a conversation that began in French until my French collapsed, and she switched to English. Just such a just a typical Quebec experience, And she was telling me that her son loves the podcast. Her boys love the podcast. Louis-Philippe and Sylvain.
Oh, nice.
And Sylvain is a woodworker who didn't know much about podcasts. And Louis-Philippe said, remember we used to listen to Terry Ted? They have a podcast now. And Sylvain said, well, I don't listen to podcasts. And
so these would be guys in their 40s?
Yeah, I would say 30s maybe. Yeah. Maybe Louis-Philippe maybe in his 30s. Maybe Sylvain's a little older. And he said to his brother, no, you'll like this one. And now they listen every week.
Oh, nice.
And Sylvain's an amateur woodworker, and I meant to bring in what he made us. He made a beautiful album stand that I'm not going to be able to do justice with just words, with the Standing By logo, and the logo lights up, and it's just, I was so thrilled with it. I was so touched by the gesture.
And excited to bring it in and show it off.
And yeah, this morning I thought, oh, okay, and I unplugged it, and I carefully put it in a bag, and there's a remote control with it where you can change the color of the lights on it, and I thought, this is going to look great on the podcast. And I folded the bag carefully, and I put it by the door, and I drove away. So I don't have it. But if they're listening, merci mille fois. It meant so much. It was such a nice compliment. And it reminded me of the early days of our old job, where people are starting to listen and enjoy.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Also, it would have been nice because owing to technical difficulties, we don't have
our logo up.
Our logo.
If you're watching.
Yeah, if you're watching, we don't have the usual visuals that accompany the podcast. But that's not the end of the world. Speaking of younger people, and people in their 40s are younger people, for you and me, I did a couple of shows at the Comedy Nest 2 weekends ago, and particularly the second show, the 10:30 show. Second shows on the weekends are 10:30. So everybody is in their 20s and 30s, right? And I'm not. Like, I was old enough to be their dad.
Right.
I was old enough to be everybody's dad. They loved me.
I was great.
No, seriously.
No, you had a good night.
They were the two, probably those two the early show and the late show that were probably the two best sets I've had.
That's amazing.
At the Comedy Nest. And I don't have a long track record to draw from. I've only in the last couple of years started to do stand-up more and more. But it was quite remarkable, especially that second show, because they're all young enough, like I say, to be my kids. And my own kids,
Yes.
when I start telling jokes, they're like, oh,
They roll their
Christ,
eyes.
here we go. So I wanted to adopt them all. So if you were at either of those shows at the Comedy Nest the weekend, the night of February 1st, thank you for your support. It's much appreciated.
Did you tiptoe?
No.
Good, good.
And I think that's part of what works.
Yeah. Yes.
I think the tiptoeing days are over for comedians, or they should be.
Yeah.
And I'm also at the point where I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Good for you.
I don't care. Yeah. And one of the other more seasoned comedians pointed out to me, he said, something that you do right is that you dress your age.
Yes.
Like I go up on stage with a nice pair of jeans
Yeah.
and a button-down shirt and a sport coat.
Yeah.
And he said a lot of guys your age go up there with a backwards baseball hat
Yes.
and ripped skinny jeans and a lumberjack shirt like I'm wearing now. He said they're trying to look half their age. And he said it doesn't work
anybody.
and that they lose credibility with the audience.
I don't know what it is, but the backwards baseball cap on guys our age drives me into my mind.
Have you seen the coach of the Washington Commanders, the
Yes.
NFL's Washington
Yes.
Commanders?
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the post I put on social media a few weeks ago. I said, trends come. I had a picture of him
And Landry.
and then next to him, Tom Landry
Yeah.
with the fedora, the
Yeah.
former Dallas Cowboys coach, like dignity personified.
Big time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I said was, my caption for the post was, trends come and go, but dignity is always in style.
There's a famous coach, famous teacher slash coach at Loyola, who's they've named the arena after him, Ed Mahar. And when I refereed high school hockey, behind the bench, never without a suit and a fedora. And this was in the 1970s, late 1970s. Never saw him without a tie on and his hat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And did anyone ever say, "Oh, look at Mr. Suit and Tie"?
Yeah, no.
Of course they didn't.
No, he was a paragon of dignity, that man, and everybody loved him. That's why the arena's named after him.
Yeah. You know who's well dressed and dignified?
Who's that?
When he's on stage, Sugar Sammy.
Yes,
He's very stylish.
yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's. I think he. Excuse me. I think he gets a little help from the missus in that department.
Probably,
but we all do.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we all
and
do.
we all should heed their advice.
And I do.
Yeah.
At home.
Yeah,
and
if
so
a
does
woman
Sammy.
tells me, if I'm wearing something and a woman compliments me on it, I say to myself, okay, I'm going to wear that again and again and again.
Did you see the post from Sammy? He's off to Dubai.
Oh, is he?
This is the kind of worldwide appeal Sammy has. Famous television personality in France, famous across the country, I think. Pardon me, I'm having a little trouble with my throat today. I'm pretty sure all his shows in Vancouver are sold out. And he was trying to add shows in Vancouver.
He has added shows in Vancouver.
Has he? There you go.
I'm
Did you
looking
go to
right now.
sugarsammy.com?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, so Vancouver, shows have been added.
Yes.
Tickets are available. Tickets still available for some of the shows coming up in the next week to 2 weeks down east and in North Bay and Toronto, Ontario. But if you want Montreal, you're going to have to wait until April.
Yeah.
The March shows are completely sold out.
Yeah. And
So
don't wait,
No.
because that's what happens is people say, oh, I'll just, I'll get around to that. We'll get those tickets next week.
And then they're gone.
And then they're gone.
Yeah.
So try not to do that, okay?
Yeah. Go now to sugarsammy.com and you'll see starting Friday, April 11th. He's got 2 shows on that Friday. He's got 2 shows the following night. And then the following week, there are more shows in Montreal. Tickets available for all of them as of right now, but maybe not for long.
Yeah, and we've always said you're not going to see another show like it. It's as unique a show as you've ever seen, and if you go to his website, you can get examples of some of the crowd work he does and just pieces of comedy that's been slaying audiences across North America, literally. He's got building a following down in the United States and right across the country. He knows he can sell tickets in any town.
Yep, and the show varies from city to city. In Montreal, he does a bilingual show. You're going to rear de.
Yep.
I don't know about Quebec. Do you know if the Quebec shows are entirely in French?
That's a good question.
We'll have to ask him about that.
We'll have to ask him that, yeah. Pardon me.
Anyway, tickets at sugarsammy.com. And like Terry says, you can see some of his work there as well. He's got an extensive website with lots of examples of his work.
And while we're talking, we just mentioned British Columbia. I nearly forgot to say hi to Glenn Allen. Glenn Allen is a listener out in Vancouver. And
Ex-Montrealer?
Ex-Montrealer, but hasn't lived here for 1,000 years. And my buddy Quentin was out with him, and somehow they got to talking about the podcast and us. And he listens every week. And apparently one week when I mentioned Quentin's name, he nearly fell off his chair and said, "How do you know Terry?" So thank you so much. It's another reminder that you can listen to the podcast anywhere. We've got listeners literally all across the country and even some in other countries, which thrills us to no end. We should mention at this point, you can email us.
Yes, you can at standingbythepodcast@gmail.com, standingbythepodcast@gmail.com. We read all the emails.
Yep.
I think we respond to all of them.
Yes.
If we haven't responded to yours yet, we will. Terry's probably more diligent than I am at that, and I've been down for the count with this virus for the last little while, so
Yes.
that's my excuse. And check out our new website that Terry's wife Jess put together. TerryandTedPodcast.com. You'll see our contact information on there, as well as the links for Spotify, Apple, and the visual link on YouTube, and highlights from previous podcast episodes.
This was the point of the show, actually, where I was going to read some of the email. My wife said, you should read a couple of these letters this week. And I said, that's a terrific idea. I'll print them out and I'll bring them with us.
You left them with the woodworking thing?
I did. Not only that, my computer's in the other room. So
okay.
At this point, I could go outside and get the computer and then, go to the website and download. But we'll read them next week.
Yeah,
How
you don't
about
want
that?
me to do a song and dance number while you go and get your computer?
Have you got something in mind?
Well, you know what? I wanted to talk about the incestuous relationship between some of our sponsors.
Okay.
In a good way.
Okay.
In a very good way. I think Sammy
Yes.
said that he called Accutech Electric.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
To do some work at his place.
Yes.
In NDG,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So Pierre from Robert Richer Jewelers told me that they've been in touch with Accutech Electric to have them do some work at the shop in Dorval and also at their home, at Pierre
Really?
and Linda's home. Yeah.
Okay.
So, even if nobody else is buying the goods and services of our sponsors, they're buying each other's. So it's working at that level.
That's
at
fantastic.
least. Yeah, that's great to hear. And we would like to thank Tom and Trish from Accutech Electric for coming on board for a second season as sponsors. They took a chance on us because they're not a big company.
Nope.
They're a local electric company,
Yep.
and we don't have gigantic, huge advertising rates, but it's still something that any business has to take into consideration.
Yep.
Is it worth spending this money? Are we
Yeah.
gonna? What's our return on investment going to be? And I guess they decided after the first season that it was good enough, so they're back for another season, and we're happy to
That's
have
our
them on
slogan.
board.
Good enough.
I thought it was Terry and Ted. They're not going to jerk you off.
I like good enough.
Yeah, probably.
But I'm thrilled with that because we have had, we're working on getting new numbers about how many people are downloading the podcast and whatnot. And, you can go to an advertiser and say, oh, we got a jillion, million, billion, but you don't know if the advertising is effective until people start to show up at your business, like happened with the Riches.
Yeah.
Remember, I went in to visit them with Jess, and when we were in there were 2 people in there who'd heard about it on the podcast. So that's a nice thing.
Yeah, I think for us, from our perspective, word of mouth serves us
Yes.
just as well as whatever numbers we can trot out for
because
anybody.
You know, people are listening from all over the country or around the world in some cases. Not a lot. Calm down, Terry. You know, but we've had a note from Hong Kong. We've had a note
Japan.
Yeah. So, you know, our international reach is several.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But if you're close to home, if you're in or around Montreal and you have electrical work that you need done, commercial or residential, you can talk to Tom and Trish at Accutech. They're at Accutech, ACUTECH.ca.
Correct.
And they're good folks who do good work.
Yeah. And small things are big things. Like
And-
shops, stores.
Yeah. Can't dance, too late to plow.
Right.
Can't roller skate.
Right.
Oh, small things or big things.
Yes.
I thought you said small things are big things. And I thought, where's he going with that?
Yeah. No. Like your
Yeah.
your new house or your new business.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Also, official consultants for Generac.
Yes.
Generac generators. You have any questions about generators? Tom and Trish can help you out with that on Generac's behalf.
Mm-hmm.
Can I do the tweet sheet?
Yes.
I put
please
the
do.
tweet sheet together last night.
You were
and
all
I
excited?
I was all excited. So it probably won't be as funny to you as I was hoping it would be, because that's always the way it goes, right?
Yeah.
No, I think you're going to like these.
If you're watching on YouTube, normally on the TV behind us, we have a picture of me and Ted and the Standing By logo. But we're having some technical issues today. That's not working. So that's why you don't see the logo. And that's why the tweets will not be up on the screen. And if you're listening, you've downloaded on Spotify or Apple, it doesn't matter.
I think it's going to work even better this way, though, because sometimes you see them, and
Yes.
before I get the punchline read, you've already read it and you're
Correct.
laughing. Yeah. So I think the timing might be a little bit better this week. Let's see. Here's one from at T-Bone. By the way, these are from Twitter or X if you prefer. I picked 3 a week that I think will make Terry laugh. And I think this one will, from at T-Bone7219. The closest I'll ever come to performing in the circus is standing on a swivel chair trying to reach the vodka I hid in the cabinet above the refrigerator.
Such a great visual.
Oy, Jesus, that made me laugh. From at Difficult Patty. Once again, emotionally preparing for the people who say Valentine's Day. Yeah, that's always a dandy, eh? That and should have.
Oh, yeah.
I should have gone there for Valentine's Day dinner. And here's one that I think your wife Jess would like. This is also from at T-Bone7219.
Okay,
it's a
good
double
one.
header for him this week. Cats act like they don't know their name, but they know. They fucking know. And they do.
And they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah. I am the Frito Bandito.
That is correct.
There's a 1970s reference for you.
Yeah,
eh?
that's okay though.
Yeah.
Hey, a lot of people that listen to the podcast, and we know this because we looked at a breakdown of the ages of people that listen to the podcast, and we do have quite a contingent, like you at the comedy show, quite a contingent of people who are, under our age listening. But a lot of people are listening to the show because it reminds them of what we used to do, or they miss Montreal and they're living somewhere else, or they just get a chuckle out of it.
Yeah.
And we love it. We
Yeah.
really, really do. I wanted to ask you what you thought of the Super Bowl. Jesus Christ.
Well, the game was.
my
I was
God.
expecting a really close,
was
exciting
I.
game that was going to go down to the wire.
Yeah.
But Philadelphia absolutely dominated the Kansas City Chiefs, and I was emceeing a party, and at halftime I said, well, it looks like the Chiefs and the refs have got their work cut out for them in the second half. But I forgot to take into account online gambling.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Just a rout.
I mean, it was a spectacle for sure, as
Yeah.
the Super Bowl always is. But the game itself was quite disappointing. I don't know if we can tiptoe through this minefield without doing what we are loath not to do, which is get into politics. But what did you think of the Kendrick Lamar halftime performance?
Well, not much. I mean, but that's not my thing.
Me too.
Never has been my thing.
Me too.
I get it. It's a genre. It's a genre I've never been interested in. Jess tried to explain the Drake Kendrick Lamar.
Apparently, there's a big rivalry there.
A beef going on.
Yeah, but at least they're not shooting each other, which I
Right.
think is what would have happened 30 years ago.
And none of it, and I mean none of it, appeals to me, which is not surprising.
Yeah.
because I didn't grow up on it. I wasn't raised on it. There are some songs, if you want to call them songs, there are some pieces, I guess, from different artists of that genre that I think are okay. But that's not my thing. If you ask me to remember Super Bowl shows, I remember Bruce Springsteen, and I remember McCartney, and I remember Lady Gaga, and I remember Prince, and I remember, there were some really, really memorable Super Bowl shows. In my opinion, this was not one of them. But I'm not the audience.
No.
And we actually had a discussion around the TV with my wife and friends that were visiting about who was at that meeting and what transpired. What was the NFL trying to do by making that the halftime show?
Yeah.
What audience were they trying to reach?
I couldn't answer that
And
question.
we couldn't either.
No.
So anyway, there was people, I'm sure you saw it online, a lot of people were shitting all over it, and I thought that was unfair because that's not my purview. I don't know that world.
Yeah, and you can't deny that he's an accomplished
Yes.
artist. And
Yeah.
apparently he's a Pulitzer Prize winner.
Yes.
Like he's as a lyricist.
Yeah. He's a poet.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So yeah, not my thing. And the game was disappointing. We were lucky because through some kind of wizardry, we were able to watch a station in Buffalo, New York.
So you saw the American commercials?
Each and every one of them. And
And?
it was amazing. And it was much better than watching the, promos for TSN over and over and Crave.
This is Emilio during his dark period. Click. If I ever see that again, I'm going to kill myself.
So in America, where commercials were $8 million this year each. And one of the ones that I loved was Harrison Ford was like a mini
Jeep.
movie.
It was 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It's 2 minutes.
The budget on it, $32 million.
What do you figure his cut was?
Oh, for sure. We figured 10 plus.
Wow.
I'm sure $32 million was the production. That probably didn't include what you paid Harrison Ford.
Really?
Yeah, that's speculation on our part. We loved the Martha Stewart commercial. We just fell down laughing.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, it was for Skechers, I think. She makes great fun of herself. And the other thing we loved, and speaking of having a sense of humor about yourself, you can find all of these online, by the way. Seal. Seal.
Yes, I
Kiss
saw
from a
that.
Rose.
That was great.
It was just fantastic. I don't want to spoil it
Yeah.
for you. So just if you missed it, go to YouTube and type in Seal Super Bowl commercials.
Yeah, it was a great example of what they can do with.
Yeah.
Would you call that AI? Was that AI generated that imagery?
kinda, yeah.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was really good.
Yeah.
It was very funny.
Yeah, people are throwing around the AI thing, like it's AI is widely, it's affecting everything now. Like a lot of people, the Beatles won a Grammy this year for their song Now and Then. And everybody was saying, oh, it was an AI record. It was an AI record. It was not an AI record. Now and Then is a record that was made from a demo tape that John Lennon did, that Paul McCartney and George Harrison and Ringo tried to resurrect. And with the help of Peter Jackson,
The
filmmaker, who put the Beatles documentary together, he used enhanced technology that enhances audio for the film, and they use that enhancement to bring Now and Then to life. it was not an AI recreation of John Lennon's voice. It was John Lennon's voice. But everybody said, oh, you shouldn't have won the Grammy. It was AI. It wasn't AI.
And is that a song that had previously been released, or
No.
was it sitting collecting dust? Or
Yeah, it was. They tried to resurrect it, I think, in 1995, and it went okay. But when they were able to re-release it and do a video with it, the song was a new release and became not a massive hit, but it sure made a lot of people like me cry. If you watch the video for Now and Then, and you were a Beatles fan and you're of a certain age, it'll put a lump in your throat.
box of Kleenex required?
Yeah,
I think
so.
this past Sunday was
Yeah.
the anniversary of the Beatles' 60th anniversary.
Yeah,
maybe?
61st, I think.
61st
Yeah.
of the Beatles appearing on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Yeah.
Do you remember that night? Did
I
you
do.
watch that night?
I do, because I had to beg, well, not beg, but my mom and dad let me stay up.
Mm-hmm.
And
What time did Ed Sullivan come on?
it came on, if I recall, at 8.
Okay.
And I was 5, I think,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 61 years ago. So I was 6.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we lived in a very small upper apartment in Verdun, and my bedroom was next to my parents' bedroom. There were just 2 bedrooms, and my bedroom, if you opened the door, you could see the living room. It was a small apartment, and so when my parents put me to bed, I could hear the TV, and I could hear what they were watching. But I had asked them and begged them, because I'd received a record player and some 45s of the Beatles for a birthday gift earlier that year. And they said, okay, you can stay up and watch the first one, because there were 2 Beatles songs that night, 2 Beatles appearances. And they let me stay up and watch the first one. And I remember it. I remember it really clearly for, it being so long ago. And I remember how exciting it was. And then I had to go to bed, but because I could hear the TV, I heard the second one too.
Okay.
It was.
What did they play? Do you
cool
remember?
night. No, don't
You remember the songs?
No.
I can remember Beatles knockoff groups on Saturday afternoon TV.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I like just before or
Yeah.
just after roller derby.
Yeah. Saturday afternoon TV was great, eh?
Yeah, roller derby
Yeah.
with Paul
Until-
the Bear Rupert and Skinny Minnie Miller.
Until Bugs Bunny came on,
Yeah.
it sucked, the landscape.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bugs Bunny came on, I think, at 5.
yeah,
before
the
Hockey
Bugs
Night.
Bunny Roadrunner
Yeah.
hour. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it was quite the potpourri of trash.
Yeah. Jess is going to kill me, because I know, she's such a massive Beatles fan. She'll remember what songs were played.
I should mention before I forget about the Super Bowl. The
Yes.
Super Bowl party fundraiser for NEF, the Neuro
Thank you.
Efficiency
Yes.
Foundation, was an absolute home run.
Yeah.
It was a smash success. There were at least 300 people there. We had Jonathan Garfinkel in on the podcast and Rachel Sirois a couple of weeks ago. Jonathan is the son of David Garfinkel, who hosted the party, and Rachel was the event planner, and they were basically the hands-on people, and David was the brains and the money. And David is a guy who had the world by the tail and suffered a spinal injury in a surfing accident and is wheelchair-bound for the rest of his life, and instead of feeling sorry for himself about it, has decided to do something about it and held this Super Bowl party at Cafe Amea in the Maison Alcan to raise money, pardon me, for the Neuro Efficiency Foundation, which provides support and services for people in David's world, people who are quadriplegics or paraplegics. And David decided after this happened to him, he was going to try to make life better for people in his situation who don't have his means. And so they've held a couple of golf tournaments, and this will have been the first annual, because it was such a huge success. There's no question that they'll do it again.
A beautiful setting and amazing food, and the prizes that you mentioned to me were unbelievable.
Oh yeah, well they gave away tickets to a San Francisco 49ers game in the 2025 season. There were gift certificates for some of the best restaurants in Montreal, including Beatrice. Cafe Amea is the catering arm of Beatrice and Beach, And I don't think it gets much higher end than Beatrice and Biche when it comes to fine dining in Montreal. There was a gift certificate for Joe Beef. It was just, a silent auction. And it was all, legwork that David did. It was David, it was David leveraging his contacts and getting people to step up. And everybody did. People respect and admire David so much and always have, because he's the same guy now as he was before. He was a humble, grateful guy before, and then this shitty thing happened to him. And if anything, it only, it doubled his resolve, to live a productive life and to help other people. Because as Jonathan said the day he was here, David just wants to help other people.
Yeah.
So this was a huge success to that end, and in terms of just giving people their money's worth for what they paid for the ticket, because it wasn't a cheap ticket.
Yeah, but as you point out, it was all high end.
Yeah.
Everything
it was 5-star.
Yeah,
5-star all the way.
What'd you have?
No corners cut.
Eat? What are some?
Oh my God! There was chicken, and there was pasta, and there was what do you call it? Is it tempura? The breaded shrimp.
Yes.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah,
it was good.
Okay.
Yeah, and the desserts.
Yeah,
and it was basically I ate about 3 meals.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I didn't even have to get my money's worth because I was there as the MC.
I was going to say I heard the host was terrific.
He was very handsome.
Well hosted by Ted while I sat on my fat ass at home. Thank you, Ted.
And well done by David. Congratulations to David and Jonathan's sisters. Emily and Julia, who were also front and center in making sure that everything went well, and Eric Boyer as well, who's the executive director of NEF. It was just, I can't say enough about what a big success it was, and it's going to be one of those events that people are going to go, oh yeah, I was there. I was at that. You should come next year, and there will be one next year.
You've been carrying all the water for the podcast lately, eh? I've just been gallivanting around the planet while you do all the social media and host all the events. And what are you doing with me as a partner?
It gives me something to do. gets me out of the house.
Hey, here's a question for you, because you're a dad. Jess and I were puzzled while we were away about kids on holidays. So when we were coming home, I would venture to guess there was probably we stopped counting around 30. So there's somewhere between 30 and 50 kids on the flight. And when I say kids, I mean children under
10
8.
or under?
Yeah, under 8.
Really?
Oh yeah, maybe under 5, a lot of them. And we saw one dad, and he had the baby strap, the bag on the front of him with the baby in it. I know it's not called a baby bag, but I don't have kids. Where you strap the thing on,
I know
the
what you
baby
mean.
goes in the front.
Yeah. And
he was holding the handle to a wagon, and there were 2 other kids in the wagon. Well, I assume they were his. They were, I don't know, maybe 5 and 3. And the 3-year-old was going to town, like taking as much air into her lungs as she could, and then screaming as loud as she could. And he was looking down at her, eating candies that I guess were for the kids, looking at them like, oh, Christ, we'll be home soon, I guess. Yeah. And I thought to myself, what's the thinking? Like, is it all, if you have, like, say, 3 kids, 8, 5, and 3, is that a holiday?
No.
Right?
No, it's not.
You got to keep them from drowning. You got to feed them. You got to, I don't understand how that's a holiday.
Yeah. When Sam and Charlie were younger, we took them down south when we worked at Showman. We would do down south contest trips.
And how old were they?
Like 6 and 4.
Okay, well, this is the same kind of thing. Right?
Yeah, but it was, they were we were at family-friendly resorts.
Right.
Sam and Charlie were relatively well-behaved boys, and we always planned, if we were going to travel with the boys, we made our plans with that in mind. Okay, we're going to be here. Is it going to be appropriate to have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old there?
Gotcha.
And that's the way we did it. But we also did some holidays where, the kids are staying home.
Yeah.
We'll get my mom or we'll get her mom or both moms to take care of the kids because this is not a trip for them. This is a trip for us.
And I get that. I get not everybody, has the access to childcare, and not everybody wants to leave their kids.
No, I know that. But
behind.
You can spend
I get that.
I would be curious to know how much more. I would be curious to know the cost comparison between taking 3 kids to a resort in the Dominican Republic versus what you would have to pay someone to take care of them if you left them home.
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to hear about it, and that's fine. You can send us emails if you like. And again, I'm in no position to speak. I don't have children, but I'll never forget the look on that man's face. And I thought to myself,
was it a look of regret? Like, what have I done?
Yeah, it was a look of, Jesus Christ, when is this going to be over?
Yeah. How old was he?
I would say in his 30s, mid-30s.
Yeah.
His children were young.
Yeah.
And there were lots of them. Mm-hmm. Wagons full of children waiting to get on the plane. And Jess and I started to have that conversation about, is that really a holiday if, you have to, corral the kids and make sure they don't drown.
Yeah. And you didn't used to see that.
And that's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
We were saying in the last 10 years, you see more and more of that. And it's none of our business, but we look at each other and we think, is that a holiday? I'm not
when
sure.
my parents went to the Caribbean, they didn't take us.
No. And
they hired Mrs. Crabapple or whoever to come and take care of us for a week.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a new thing that people just would not think about traveling without their kids, or they want their kids to have the experience. But then again, I wonder, how much do you remember when you're 5?
A 3-year-old's not going to remember.
No, that's the thing. And it's a full-time job. It's not holidays. It's a full-time job.
No, that's not a holiday at all.
No, I don't think it is.
Yeah, if you got from what the description of Buddy with the one in the jumper and the 2 in the wagon, and the 3-year-old. I remember our youngest when she was 3 being on and she was 3, but she was in her terrible 2s.
Yeah,
and we went to New York and Delaware and somewhere else down on the East Coast of the United States in the summertime. And she was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Because she was in her terrible 2s. Like, it was a friggin' nightmare.
Yeah.
She did exactly what you described.
Yeah.
Filled her lungs up with as much air as she could and then screamed.
Yeah.
And she did it for a week.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not fun. That can't be any fun.
Yeah.
Eh?
I don't blame her. She was just a little girl.
Yeah, you love them dearly, but I read. I'll mention the names of the books in a minute. I read 1, 2, 3, 4 books while I was away, and I thought to myself, when I was watching people on the beach go, "Hey, come back!" You're kind of trying to corral. You're not really relaxing if you're.
Were you on public beaches or private beaches?
We were at a public beach.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lifeguards on duty?
No. No. Every day we walked down to a beach where we were able to make an arrangement to rent the chairs for the day, and we had our spot, and we went back to the same spot every day that Jess's dad had organized for the 3 of us, and it was just absolutely lovely.
Yeah, big waves, little waves.
And not surfing waves, but not calm seas.
Okay.
Yeah.
And bathwater warm or a little bite to it?
Caribbean warm. Yeah.
I like it when it has a little bite to it. The nicest water I've ever been in was in the Greek islands.
Is that right?
That deep Aegean blue.
Yeah.
And and it's so friggin' hot in Greece.
Yes.
And then when you jump in, like it's got just enough of a bite to it.
A little
it cools,
snap.
It cools you off real nice.
Is it a?
No, not
like
at
that.
all. Not
Okay.
at all.
All right.
No. And you don't get that in the Caribbean because the Caribbean's bathwater warm in most places anyway.
Are there rocks on the beach where you were near the Aegean?
On what's the big popular island that we went to? Why am I blanking on it? Santorini. Santorini is a volcanic island.
It's rocky.
So the beaches are all black, not only rocky, black rocks.
Yeah.
So if you don't have sandals or something on your feet, you're ow, 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 ow.
Yeah,
but we went to another island called Skiathos, which had sand beaches. So it just depends on what island you're on, I guess.
That sounds like something a doctor would tell you. You have. You got Skiathos. I'm going to have to get you some cream for that. Oh, that looks like Skiathos to me. I'm just a child, eh? I'm just a child.
Yeah, you're not kidding, though.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like... shit, I got the Skiathos.
Looks like a case of Skiathos. I shouldn't say anything because I've never been, but beautiful, eh?
The Greek Islands, most beautiful place I've ever been.
Yeah.
And I haven't been everywhere. I haven't been to the coast of Amalfi, to the Amalfi Coast in Italy. I think that would be a comparable.
Yeah, the Amalfi Coast makes me want to cry when I think about it. I've been a few times. Enough about that. It's time that we said thank you to our friends at the Mersons.
I hope you have your snow tires on because it's the second week of February.
Nearly time to have them off.
Yeah. Well, no, not yet.
No,
don't
not
take
yet.
them off yet because there's a big, as of the time of this recording, anywhere from 20 to 35 centimeters, they're saying.
Super duper.
Was it you who told me that somewhere further down east, maybe?
Ottawa.
40 to 45.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good times.
Oh, yeah. Good God, Mod. Merson Automotive, obviously we're in the middle of the winter tire season, but tires are their specialty. And when and if you go preseason or postseason, they always have a good look at your tires and they let you know what kind of shape they're in. And that's one of the things I've always loved about the Mersons is they don't give you the old, oh boy, you're in trouble now and that's going to run you. You know, they say, you know what? And they've said this to me. Those winter tires you've got have got one more season left in them, but only one. So start to think now. You're going to need to buy some new tires, new winter tires at the beginning of next season. And I did buy new winter tires at the beginning of the current season, and I'm glad I did because we've had way more snow this year than we did last year.
Boys, it just keeps coming.
Yeah, and there's more coming in, and I got excellent tires at a reasonable price. And that's the way the Mersons operate. They don't hard sell you and try to sell you something that you don't need right now. They tell you when you might need it, whether it's your tires, your brakes, whatever. They give your car the good once over and they say, okay, here's what's good, here's what's not so good, here's what you're going to have to replace, and here's when. Just honest professionals, and that's why they've been in business for 3 generations.
Yep, at just about the same place, too, just past the corner of Saint-Jacques and Cavendish. Merson, you can go online and find them on their website, but do yourself a favor, go see these terrific people in person, or you can call them, 487-5545, and ask your questions on the phone. But if you get to experience it in person, it's much better. They're just terrific people.
I wonder if Karen and Celso take their boys on vacation. I think
could
they
ask
do.
them, yeah.
I think they
Well,
do.
they're older
They're
now.
older, yeah.
They're
Their
older
boys
now.
are,
Yeah.
they're teenagers now. I think coming up on graduation, one of them might have graduated already.
Wow.
But I can recall seeing on Kara's Facebook page in the past, they would be, well, they go to Portugal because that's where Celso's from.
Correct.
So you got to take the kids.
Yeah.
You can't not take the kids to see the grandparents.
Of course.
And learn about their roots.
Yeah. I thought I would mention, you know me, I don't usually devour books like I did on holidays. I don't know what it was. Could have been because I was on holidays. And I want to recommend these books. I finally finished Geddy Lee's book. If you're a Rush fan, and even if you're not, Geddy Lee's book.
I'm a Geddy Lee fan.
Well, you would love this book, Ted. I'm going to bring it in so that you can
and I'm
read
talking
it.
about the person.
Yeah.
Anytime I've ever seen him interviewed, I thought, what an interesting, nice man he seems to be.
And it's reflected in the book. It's called My Effin' Life. And my brother, Dean, is a massive Rush fan. He said, Terry, you got to read this book. When we left BC last summer, I brought it with me on the road and left it behind in a hotel room and forgot it. What a surprise, eh, Ted?
Yeah.
And Christmas came and went, and I forgot about it. And as we were planning to go down to the beach, I thought, you know what? I'm going to order another copy. I want to finish it. And I finished it, and it's unbelievable. There's a whole section, a whole chapter on the Holocaust because his family are Holocaust survivors. And if you want to know the ins and outs of everything from how they got started, the path that they traveled, if you're a Rush fan and you want to know about, how the band reacted with Neil Peart's sickness, and it's in-depth, it's wonderful, it's warm, and I was really sorry when it was finished. When you're reading a book and you close it and you think,
wanted more?
Yeah, you think, shit, me and Geddy got to part company
What's
here.
it called? My Effin' Life?
My Effin' Life, EFFIN. And then I read the Johnny Carson book I got for Christmas. You know, I'm a massive Carson fan. There is another book out, and I know when I thought, well, I know most of these stories, but this is an interesting book called Carson the Magnificent. It's written by a guy named Bill Zemi, I think is the way you pronounce it, and he's gone. He died before the book was finished. And Mike Thomas, who had been his longtime assistant, got permission from him to finish the book. And it's a fascinating look at Carson post-retirement. So if you're a Carson fan like I am, and I'm a Carson nut, I learned a lot about what I did for a living from watching Johnny Carson. And it's just terrific. It's called Carson the Magnificent. And when that was done, I ran out of books. So Jess gave me her Cher book. Now, you'd think...
Cher as in Sonny and Cher.
Yes. Yeah. And I thought, and Jess said, you're going to like this. She's led a fascinating life. This book is so good. It's so interesting.
Autobiography?
Yes.
Yeah.
And part one. She's got another one coming at Christmas that's the second part. And she was raised at a time when rock and roll was, just starting out. And I can't do it justice by describing it, but, if you liked, if you're interested in the history of music from the 60s and Phil Spector and the Rolling Stones and this gal, it's remarkable. She's led a remarkable life, and she's so Cher in her writing style. Pointed and funny. And I blew through it, and I absolutely loved it. So that's not 4 books, it was 3.
Well, I like the picture that you posted of Jess on the beach reading the goddamn Judi Dench book.
Thought you'd get a kick out of that.
Bit of an in-joke, know, if you've watched the podcast on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But what was the name of that book?
It's Judi Dench on Shakespeare. That's not the title, but if you Googled that.
By goddamn Judi Dench.
By goddamn Judi Dench.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Friday is Valentine's Day.
Yes, sir.
What are you going to do?
Valentine's Day is banished from our house.
No!
It is.
How am I going to segue that into a Robert Richer Jewelers commercial?
Well, Jess's birthday is coming up. And also, never thought I'd say this, my 5th wedding anniversary is coming
nice.
up. Yes.
Congratulations.
But Valentine's Day is, Jess is not a fan.
Okay.
And that's okay.
Well, if you are a fan, we strongly recommend you visit Robert Richer Jewelers. You can actually go on our Facebook page or our Instagram page, and I've posted one of Linda Richer's videos. I've ranted and raved about Linda's videos and how good they are. She's a professional, expert gemologist.
And a pretty good communicator.
A great communicator, and she's so pretty. She's so pretty.
Yes.
So go and look at these videos. She's got some great ideas for Valentine's Day gifts that will suit all tastes and all budgets. And she also sent me a note saying, just wanted to let you know we are proud to carry Maple Leaf Diamonds, a Canadian company that has Canadian diamonds as well as Canadian gold. So without going knee-deep into it, if you're on a Buy Canadian kick right now and you want to get somebody something nice and Canadian for Valentine's Day, Robert Richer Jewelers have Canadian Maple Leaf Diamonds and Canadian gold. And Linda put, thank you, Mr. Trump. And I responded, we're slapping a 25% tariff on your advertising. So go to Robert Richer Jewelers. Again, like Terry was saying about Merson, we feel the same way about the Richers. You have to go and visit them. You have to go to the shop to get an appreciation for what they're all about. They're at 309 Dorval Avenue in Dorval.
And don't be scared, because you don't need to bring $10,000.
Don't be scared.
Don't be scared. You can go there and find something that'll fit your budget.
I should have told them not to be scared.
For Valentine's Day. Scared when we were kids was right up there with biscotti.
Yes, true.
I'm scared.
I'm scared of the biscotti.
And if you're listening to this on February the 12th,
yeah.
right? Just want to remind you, set your PVR because I think it's going to be fascinating. Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary is Sunday at 8 o'clock.
Sunday.
They're doing a special show. I forget who the host is on Saturday night, but it's a 50th anniversary 3-hour celebration on NBC Sunday night.
I have got to assume that some surviving original cast members will be there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were probably trying to get on that show because the cast members will be there, and I'm sure a lot of former hosts and guests.
Yeah.
It should be. I mean, it's not like they don't have anything to draw from.
Yeah, seriously.
Holy smoke, 50 years of that?
Yeah.
It should be good. And I wanted to mention that before we said good day, that's and I wanted to mention a couple of things that Jess and I watched before we go. Jess and I are hooked on What We Do in the Shadows. You ever seen this? It's just the dumbest, funniest show. It's called What We Do in the Shadows.
Where is it?
You can find it. We watch it on, I think, Disney Channel. There's so many services now. It's just crazy. I don't even know how to describe it. It's about vampires. And I don't like vampires. I don't like that horror stuff. This thing is fall down hilarious. My favorite repeated line that's in every episode is one of the lead characters, who's a vampire, is always saying, "This fucking guy." It's just so absurd and funny. We love it. We watch an episode every night. And the other thing, if you want to watch where the plug got pulled on the bathtub of civilization, the Jerry Springer show, that was the beginning of the unraveling of decency and boundaries.
The circus
started. The circus began with Jerry Springer, who's you shouldn't speak ill of the dead, but when this documentary was done, it's on Netflix, and it's about the Jerry Springer show and the people behind it. It's just 2 episodes. And when it was done, I realized Jerry Springer was a piece of shit.
Really?
Yeah. Played the nice guy, seemed like an okay, he seemed like it was all happening around him and he didn't know what was going on. He was a piece of shit like his executive producer. And when it was over, Jess and I looked at each other and thought, holy shit, that's really where a lot of society started to come unglued.
Yeah.
And everything that you saw in the Jerry Springer show, I didn't watch, but everything you saw in it, you thought it was staged. Guess what? You are correct.
And now it's being exacerbated by social media.
Yeah, and
the fundamental lack of decency.
Well, yeah, it's a jaw dropper to watch this because a lot of the episodes I didn't see. There was an episode with a guy who married a donkey and brought or a horse, like a mini horse, brought the horse on and was French kissing the horse. I mean, there was a guy who, he only wore diapers. Another woman who didn't want to wear clothes. And the fighting and the scrapping and even a murder. There's a story in the documentary about a guest who was murdered after the setup on. Anyway, if you're fascinated or you ever watched Jerry Springer or you want to see where society began to come apart, watch the Netflix documentary on Jerry Springer. Those are my recommendations this week.
Maury Povich came after Jerry Springer.
He did, I think. Yeah.
One of my all-time favorite tweets, I think it's from a guy named Rick Aaron, and he talks about his early TV credits. And he says, one of my early TV credits was jubilant non-father on Maury Povich. Jubilant non-father.
That's very
because
funny.
Maury Povich was the show where they were always, is he?
Yeah. You are not the father. Yeah. More stunningly crafted television.
Seriously, very socially redeeming.
I think that's it for this week's episode. It's nice to be back, Ted. I'm glad we're back in the studio.
Yep.
Don't forget the podcast is now weekly, every Tuesday night at midnight. So every Wednesday still.
And you can find it on our website. You can find all the links on our website at terryandtedpodcast.com, and you can email us anytime at standingbythepodcast@gmail.com.
Go to our Facebook page because Ted is quite diligent about posting there. And I'm happy to say you've ramped up our followers, Ted. You've been building up following on our Facebook page, which we appreciate very much.
I'm glad to hear that, and looking forward to my bonus.
And apparently you're supposed to say link, subscribe, and follow.
Do that.
Yeah. Whatever that is.
Yeah.
Do that. Link. Okay.
Like, subscribe, and follow.
And most importantly, tell your friends.
Yeah.
Like that guy in Vancouver.
Tell your enemies.
Yeah, tell your enemies. Steer people to the podcast who can't stand us.
Yeah.
Really, thanks for listening. We appreciate it. Thanks to Matthew, our producer, and don't forget, we'll see you next week.
Standing By, the Terry and Ted podcast has been brought to you by the UPS Store Canada, delivering full-service solutions for your small business.